Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that playthrough, and I made this song especially for this demo because I just wanted to go through some of the fundamental things I think that make up modern metal riffs and songs, and techniques I think that you can apply to your own writing, and I just really want to help you out. So let's jump right in. The song I was playing there was in drop C, which is essentially C, G, C, F, A, D, from the bottom to the top. Very common tuning used in modern metal. Technique number one is galloping. So galloping is a really fundamental technique used in modern metal and pretty much metal in general. And all you're really doing here is palm muting the bottom low C here in this case, and then using different stop and start patterns whilst tremolo picking to create a really cool flow with the kick drum. It's really important to have a good strong wrist, and most of the time I use alternative picking, in which means I'm essentially going up and down instead of just straight down picking. And this is a good way to create flow within your verses, and some bands that do this really well are people like Gojira or Meshuggah. Technique number two are drone notes. So what I mean by drone notes is essentially keeping one note consistently playing open whilst using another string to play notes behind it and create a kind of dissonant, tense sound, which is a really good way to move into a different riff. For example, the song at the beginning I was playing this riff. As you can see there, I was utilizing the middle C and using the bottom C, the low C here, to create kind of bass notes and create some tension. Another area you can do this is down here and create kind of like minor chords. And then I was playing the F string and keeping that open. I would definitely recommend trying out this technique and having a playthrough, and it's especially easy with drop tunings because you can pretty much keep the middle C or D, whatever tuning you're in, open, and then play around with different chord shapes and create tension, dissonant sounds, and give your riffs some kind of dark feel. Technique number three is using intervals. So if you listen to metal, modern metal, you're probably familiar with a chug. You're basically just palm muting the bottom three strings, and with the drop tuning this is especially easy, and it's a very, very familiar sound for metal. However, sometimes it can be interesting to add in intervals and essentially create different dissonant sounds, which can actually be used to your advantage and really give much more melody to the song. In this demo song that I was playing, I used something called a diminished fifth, and that was at the beginning of the riff when I was playing this. So all I'm really doing there is taping the low C here, playing on the 3rd fret, but whilst keeping the G and the C open and palm muting together. And then shifting that down 1 fret, and then playing open again. This is a really cool technique, and it's good to play this with kind of the lower notes. Gojira really uses this quite a lot, and a lot of metal bands utilize this technique, and it creates lots of cool big sounds. You may also be familiar with this on the 1st fret especially. Lots of tension and dark feel there. Another interval you can utilize is a minor 6th, and essentially I was doing that whilst I had the 1st fret G string being played. So as you can see, it's very, very similar to how the diminished 5th sounds, but it's more of a lighter sound, I would say. Again, it's good to create tension, a bit more flexibility to your riffs, and yeah, just spice things up. Technique number 4 is tapping. So throughout that song, you may have seen me doing this technique. This is a really common thing used in modern metal, and it's a really cool way to create lead lines and melody, especially when you're playing with more strings or on the lower strings. It can really, really sound cool and get you some really different sounding riffs that really would be impossible to play with just a pick alone. The technique is really simple. All I'm essentially doing is using my index finger to hit one note and then pull off to the open string. And then utilizing my left hand in this instance to allow different notes to be pulled off at the same time. For example. So what I'm doing here is hitting the 16th fret on the C string, pulling off to the C, and then doing the same thing on the 13 and then the 12. This can also be applied to the bottom string, and again, it's a really cool way to create different sounding riffs. Technique number 5 is string skipping. So you may have seen near the end there, I was utilizing this riff. Technique number 5 is string skipping. So in a drop tuning, this is especially easy and really, really cool to use, and you can do it on the same fret to create a really cool percussive and open sound. As an example, here's the riff I was playing in the song. So what I'm doing there is essentially palm muting the low C and then hammering onto a fret, in this case 12. And then I'm playing the middle C open. And then moving it up to the 13th fret. Another cool way to utilize this technique, as I did in the demo song, is to use octaves. So in this instance, I was playing on the 13th fret and then moving it down to the 1st fret, essentially an octave, 12 frets below. And this is a good way to create a kind of build up for that big riff and drop. This is a really common technique, and I definitely recommend using this in some of your riffs. Technique number 6 is big chord shapes. So in modern metal, it's really important, I think, that chords are less boring and have a lot more flavor by utilizing lots of different notes around them to create cool different melodies. In this instance for this song, I essentially took the simple chord structure of this and I worked around different chord shapes to try and give it a lot more flavor and create a more identifiable sound. To start off, I was essentially taking a power chord, a C power chord, with the open low C. And then I had to use my pinky to play around and try to see which notes gave it a bit more tension. In this instance, I was playing here on the 9th fret of the F string. Then I moved on to the 5th fret. And I thought, okay, so I want it to sound again like a bit more tension, like it's not quite complete. So I played around, I tried out make a sus2, which is just adding the C string on the 7th fret. But I moved that down to the F string and then used my pinky to the 8th fret of the C string. I really like the sound of that chord. I moved this on again to 8. and applied a similar shape to what I did at the beginning. And then to complete the chorus, I needed a way to move back down the C, but to give it a more resolved sound. So essentially took the open C, then I used the 5th fret of the G string, 4th fret of the C, and then on the F string on the 7th fret. So I'm essentially just playing like an octave here, adding the 4th fret on the C string, to give it that resolved sound. So the key part of this is to take simple chord structures in a drop tuning. That's really easy because all you need to do is bar the bottom 3 strings. And then you can just play around with different notes around it and see what catches your ear. Alright guys, so I hope that helped you out. There's a few different techniques there you may have heard of, you may not have. Either way, I hope this was helpful and you can apply some of these techniques to your own playing. Whilst you're here, if you haven't yet already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps me massively and it'll keep you up to date with all the new content I have now coming out. If you have any more techniques that you think should be applied here, why not leave a comment down below and let me know. If you would be kind enough to support me, you can find my Patreon down below so I can keep making better videos and increase my output. And all my other socials, including Instagram, are down in the description below, so you can be sure to keep up to date with what's going on. Stay tuned as I have lots of new stuff coming out, including some really cool covers and some updates from the band. So I will catch you in the next video, and thank you so much for watching.